The Open Championship, often referred to as the Open of the British Open, is the oldest of the four major championships in professional golf, held in the United Kingdom. It is administered by the R&amp, and is the only major outside the United States. The Open is currently the third major of the year, between the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship, and is played in mid-July. The current champion is Henrik Stenson, who won the 145th Open at Royal Troon in 2016 with a record-breaking score of -20. History. The Open was first played on the 17th of October 1860 at Prestwick Golf Club in Scotland. The inaugural tournament was restricted to professionals and attracted a field of 8 golfers who played 3 rounds of Prestwick's 12-hole course in a single day. Willie Park Sr. won with a score of 174, beating Old Tom Morris by 2 strokes. The following year the tournament was open to amateurs. 8 of them joined 10 professionals in the field. James Ogilvy Fairley was the principal organizer of the first Open Championship, held at Prestwick in 1860. With the untimely death of Alan Robertson, aged 43 in 1859, Prestwick members decided to conduct a challenge the following year that would determine the land's greatest golfer. In a proposed competition for a challenge belt, Fairley sent out a series of letters to Blackheath, Perth, Edinburgh, Musselburgh and St Andrews, inviting a player known as a respectable caddy to represent each of the clubs in a tournament to be held on the 17th of October 1860. Originally, the trophy presented to the event's winner was the challenge belt, a red leather belt with a silver buckle. The challenge belt was retired in 1870, when young Tom Morris was allowed to keep it for winning the tournament 3 consecutive times. Because no trophy was available, the tournament was cancelled in 1871. In 1872, after young Tom Morris won again for a 4th time in a row, he was awarded a medal. The present trophy, the Golf Champion Trophy, better known by its popular name of the Claret Jug, was then created. Prestwick administered the Open from 1860 to 1870. In 1871, it agreed to organize it jointly with the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St Andrews and the Honourable Company of Edinburgh Golfers. In 1892 the event was doubled in length from 36 to 72 holes, 4 rounds of what was by then the standard complement of 18 holes. The 1894 Open was the first held outside Scotland, at the Royal St George's Golf Club in England. Because of an increasing number of entrants, a cut was introduced after 2 rounds in 1898. In 1920 full responsibility for the Open Championship was handed over to the Royal and Ancient Golf Club. The early winners were all Scottish professionals, who in those days worked as greenkeepers, club makers, and caddies to supplement the modest winnings from championships and challenge matches. The Open has always been dominated by professionals, with only 6 victories by amateurs, all of which occurred between 1890 and 1930. The last of these was Bobby Jones' third Open and part of his celebrated Grand Slam. Jones was one of 6 Americans who won the Open between the First and Second World Wars, the first of whom had been Walter Hagen in 1922. These Americans and the French winner of the 1907 Open, Arnaud Massy, were the only winners from outside Scotland and England up to 1939. The first post-World War II winner was the American Sam Snead in 1946. In 1947, Northern Ireland's Fred Daly was victorious. While there have been many English and Scottish champions, Daly was the only winner from Ireland until the 2007 victory by Padraig Harrington. There has never been a Welsh champion. In the early post-war years, the Open was dominated by golfers from the Commonwealth, with South African Bobby Locke and Australian Peter Thomson winning the claret jug in 8 of the 11 championships from 1948 and 1958 between them. During this period, the Open often had a schedule conflict with the match-play PGA Championship, which meant that Ben Hogan, the best American golfer at this time, competed in the Open just once, in 1953 at Carnoustie, a tournament he won. Another South African, Gary Player, was champion in 1959. This was at the beginning of the Big Three era in professional golf, the three players in question being Player, Arnold Palmer, and Jack Nicklaus. Palmer first competed in 1960, when he came second to the little-known Australian Kel Nagle, but he won the next 2 years. While he was far from being the first American to become Open champion, he was the first that many Americans saw win the tournament on television, and his charismatic success is often credited with persuading leading American golfers to make the Open an integral part of their schedule, rather than an optional extra. The improvement of transatlantic travel also increased American participation. Nicklaus's victories came in 1966, 1970, and 1978. Although his tally of 3 wins is the least of his majors, it greatly understates how prominent Nicklaus was at the Open throughout the 1960s and 1970s. He finished runner-up 7 times, which is the record, and had a total of 16 top 5 finishes, which is tied most in Open history with John Henry Taylor and easily the most in the post-war era. Nicklaus also holds the records for most rounds under par and most aggregates under par. At Turnberry in 1977, he was involved in one of the most celebrated contests in golf history, when his duel with Tom Watson went to the final shot before Watson emerged as the champion for the second time with a record score of 268. Watson won 5 Opens, more than anyone else has since the 1950s, but his final win in 1983 brought down the curtain on an era of U.S. domination. In the next 11 years there was only one American winner, with the others coming from Europe and the Commonwealth. The European winners of this era, Spaniard Seve Ballesteros, Sandy Lyle, who was the first Scottish winner in over half a century, and the Englishman Nick Faldo, were also leading lights among the group of players who began to get the better of the Americans in the Ryder Cup during this period. In 1995, John Daly's playoff win over Italian Costantino Rocco began another era of American domination. Tiger Woods has won 3 championships to date, 2 at St Andrews in 2000 and 2005, and 1 at Hoylake in 2006. There was a dramatic moment at St Andrews in 2000, as the aging Jack Nicklaus waved farewell to the crowds, while the young challenger to his crown watched from a nearby tee. Nicklaus later decided to play in the Open for one final time in 2005, when the R&amp announced St Andrews as the venue, giving his final farewell to the fans at the home of golf. There have also been wins by previously little-known golfers, including Paul Lawrie's playoff win after the 72nd hole collapse of Gene van der Velde in 1999, Ben Curtis in 2003 and Todd Hamilton in 2004. In 2007, the Europeans finally broke an 8-year drought in the majors when Padraig Harrington of Ireland defeated Sergio Garcia by 1 stroke in a 4-hole playoff at Carnoustie. Harrington retained the championship in 2008. In 2009, 59-year-old Tom Watson turned in one of the most remarkable performances ever seen at the Open. leading the tournament through 71 holes and needing just a par on the last hole to become the oldest ever winner of a major championship. Watson bogeyed, setting up a 4-hole playoff which he would lose to Stuart Sink. In 2013, Phil Mickelson won his first Open championship at Muirfield. His victory meant that he had won 3 of the 4 majors in pursuit of the career Grand Slam, just needing the U.S. Open, where he has finished runner-up 6 times. In 2015, Zach Johnson denied Jordan Spieth his chance of winning the Grand Slam by winning an aggregate playoff over Louis Oosthuizen and Mark Leishman at the Old Course at St Andrews. Format: The Open is a 72-hole stroke play tournament contested over 4 days, Thursday through Sunday. Since 1979 it has been played in the week which includes the third Friday in July. Currently 156 players are in the field, mostly made up of the world's leading professionals, who are given exemptions, along with winners of the top amateur championships. Further places are given to players, amateurs and professionals, who are successful in a number of qualifying events. There is a cut after 36 holes, after which only the leading 70 players play in the final 36 holes on the weekend. In the event of a tie after 72 holes, a 4-hole aggregate playoff is held. If 2 or more players are still tied, it continues as sudden death until there is a winner. Timeline of format changes: 1860, contested over 36 holes, played on a single day. 1892, extended to 72 holes, played over 2 days. 1898, cut introduced after 36 holes. Those 20 or more strokes behind the leader were excluded. 1904, extended to a third day with 18 holes on each of the first 2 days. Cut rule unchanged. 1905, cut rule changed to exclude those 15 or more strokes behind the leader. 1907, qualifying introduced, replacing the 36-hole cut, and the contest reduced again to 2 days. 1910, cut reintroduced instead of qualifying, play being extended to 3 days again. Top 60 and ties made the cut. 1911, with an increase in the number of entries, the first 2 rounds were spread over 3 days, with 36 holes on the 4th day. 1912, qualifying reintroduced to replace the cut. Contest reduced again to 2 days. 1926, cut reintroduced, first Open with both qualifying and a cut. Extended again to a third day with 18 holes on the first 2 days. Those 15 or more strokes behind the leader were excluded from the final day. Days standardized as Wednesday to Friday. 1929, cut rule changed to ensure that at least 60 made the cut even if 15 or more strokes behind the leader. 1930, cut rule changed to top 60 and ties. 1937, cut rule changed to top 40 and ties. 1938, cut rule changed to be a maximum of 40 players. Ties for 40th place did not make the cut. 1939, cut rule changed to be a maximum of 44 players. Ties for 44th place did not make the cut. 1946, cut rule changed to be a maximum of 40 players. Ties for 40th place did not make the cut. 1951, cut rule changed to be a maximum of 50 players. Ties for 50th place did not make the cut. 1957, leaders after 36 holes go off last, replacing the random draw. 1963, cut rule changed to top 45 and ties. 1964, playoff reduced from 36 holes to 18, followed by sudden death if still level. 1966, play extended to 4 days, 18 holes per day from Wednesday to Saturday. Cut rule changed to top 55 and ties. 1968. Cut rule changed to top 70 and ties after 36 holes and then top 45 and ties after 54 holes. 1970. Cut rule changed to top 80 and ties after 36 holes and then top 55 and ties after 54 holes. 1971. Cut rule changed to top 80 and ties after 36 holes and then top 60 and ties after 54 holes. 1973. Play in groups of 3 introduced for the first 2 rounds. 1974. Use of bigger ball made compulsory. 1978. 10-shot rule introduced so that players within 10 shots of the leader make the cut even if outside the top 80/60ths. 1980. Play from Thursday to Sunday. 1986 to 54-hole cut discontinued. Cut rule changed to top 70 and ties after 36 holes. 4-hole playoff introduced. 1996. 10-shot rule dropped. Trophies and medals. There are a number of medals and trophies that are, or have been, given for various achievements during the Open. The Challenge Belt, awarded to the winner from 1860 until 1870, when young Tom Morris won the belt outright by winning the championship 3 years in a row. The Golf Champion Trophy replaced the Challenge Belt and has been awarded to the winner since 1873, although young Tom Morris, the winner in 1872, is the first name engraved on it. Gold medal, awarded to the winner, first given out in 1872 when the claret jug was not yet ready, and since awarded to all champions. Silver medal, awarded since 1949 to the leading amateur completing the final round. Bronze medal, awarded since 1972 to all other amateurs completing the final round. The Professional Golfers Association of Great Britain and Ireland also mark the achievements of their own members in the Open. Royal Memorial Medal, awarded since 1901 to the winner if he is a PGA member. Braid Taylor Memorial Medal, awarded since 1966 to the highest finishing PGA member. Tooting Bec Cup, awarded since 1924 to the PGA member who records the lowest single round during the championship. The Braid Taylor Memorial Medal and the Tooting Bec Cup are restricted to members born in or with a parent or parents born in the UK or Republic of Ireland. Host courses. The common factor in the venues is links courses. The Open has always been played in Scotland and southeast England, along with one course in Northern Ireland which will again stage the competition in 2019. From 1860 to 1870 the Open was organised by and played at Prestwick Golf Club. From its revival in 1872 until 1891 it was played on 3 courses in rotation: Prestwick, the Old Course at St Andrews, and Musselburgh Links. In 1892 the newly built Muirfield replaced Musselburgh in the rotation. In 1893 2 English courses, Royal St George's and Royal Liverpool Golf Club, Hoylake, were invited to join the rotation, with Royal St George's being allocated the 1894 Open and Royal Liverpool having the 1897 event. At a meeting in 1907, Royal Cinque Ports Golf Club became the 6th course on the rota, being allocated the 1909 Open, with 3 courses in both England and Scotland. The meeting also agreed that the championship was to be played in England and Scotland alternately. The alternation of venues in England and Scotland continued until the Second World War. The rotation of the 6 courses was reinstated after the First World War, with Royal Cinque Ports hosting the first post-war Open in 1920. It had been chosen as the venue for the cancelled 1915 Open. In 1923, Troon was used instead of Muirfield when some doubts exists as to the Honourable Company of Edinburgh golfers being desirous of their course being used for the event. Muirfield returned as the venue in 1929. Serious overcrowding problems at Prestwick in 1925 meant that the course was never again used for the Open, and was replaced by Carnoustie as the third Scottish course, while Royal St George's and Royal Liverpool continued to be used at 6-year intervals. The third English course varied. After Royal Cinque Ports in 1920, Royal Lytham was used in 1926 and then Princes in 1932. Royal Cinque Ports was intended as the venue in 1938, but in February of that year abnormal high tides caused severe flooding to the course, leaving it like an inland sea several feet deep, and the venue was switched to Royal St George's. Birkdale was chosen as the venue for 1940, although the event was cancelled because of the Second World War. There are 9 courses in the current rota, 4 in Scotland, 4 in England and 1 in Northern Ireland. In recent times, the old course has hosted the Open every 5 years. The remaining courses host the Open roughly every 10 years, but the gaps between hosting Opens may be longer or shorter than this. In 2014, it was announced by the R&amp that Royal Portrush was returning to the active rota, and in October 2015 Portrush was confirmed as the venue for the 2019 Open. The most recent course to be removed from the active rota was Muirfield in May 2016, following the Honourable Company of Edinburgh golfers' refusal to permit female members to join their club. From 1894 to 2016, it has been played 62 times in Scotland, 49 times in England and once in Northern Ireland. It was not until 2011 and 2012 that England hosted consecutive Opens. Future venues qualification. The field for the Open is 156, and golfers gain a place in a number of ways. Most of the field is made up of leading players who are given exemptions. Further places are given to players who are successful in the Open qualifying series and in final qualifying. Any remaining places, and places made available because qualified players are not competing, are made available to the highest ranked players in the official World Golf Ranking. There are currently 26 exemption categories. Among the more significant are the top 50 on the official World Golf Ranking. This category means that no member of the current elite of world golf will be excluded. The top 30 in the previous season's European Tour race to Dubai and the PGA Tour FedEx Cup. Most of these players will also be in the World Top 50. All previous Open champions who will be age 60 or under on the final day of the tournament. Each year a number of past champions choose not to compete. All players who have won one of the other 3 majors in the previous 5 years. The top 10 from the previous year's Open Championship. The winners of the Amateur Championship and the U.S. Amateur. International qualifying is through the Open Qualifying Series, which consists of 10 events played outside the United Kingdom. A pre-allocated number of places are made available at these events, which are given to the leading players in those events who are not, at that point, qualified for the Open, provided they finish in a high enough position. A total of 32 places are available. Local qualifying was the traditional way for non-exempt players to win a place at the Open. In recent years it has comprised a number of regional qualifying competitions around Britain and Ireland with successful competitors, joined by those players exempt from regional qualifying, playing 4 36-hole final qualifying tournaments. There are 12 places available through final qualifying, 3 at each of the 4 venues. Timeline of qualification changes. Up to 1920, a variety of qualification systems were used. From 1921 to 1962, local qualifying was used. All those who entered played 18 holes on one of two courses and then played 18 holes on the other course the following day. Qualifying took place immediately before the championship itself. In 1963, a system of exemptions for the leading players was introduced, with local qualifying continuing for the remaining players. Since then, a large number of changes have been made to the exemption criteria and to the qualifying system for the remaining players. 1907, qualifying introduced for the first time. Players play 36 holes on one of 2 days. Top 30 and ties qualify on each day. 1908, players play on either the first morning and second afternoon or the first afternoon and second morning. Top 30 and ties qualify from each group. 1909, same, but each of the two groups has to contain at least 30 professionals. 1910, qualifying dropped. 1912, qualifying reintroduced. Players play 36 holes on one of 3 days. Top 20 and ties qualify on each day. 1914, qualifying over 2 days using 2 courses. Exactly 100 players qualify. 18-hole playoff the following day for those tied for final places. This was the first occasion on which qualifying did not take place on the championship course. 1920, separate qualifying for amateur and professionals. Amateurs qualify at the open venue. Professionals qualified using 2 courses in Surrey. Top 72 and ties qualify. 1921, local qualifying reintroduced using 2 courses. Generally, the championship course is used together with a nearby course. Top 80 and ties qualify. 1926, regional qualifying used. Total of 101 and ties qualify at one of 3 venues. 1927, local qualifying reintroduced. Top 100 and ties qualify. 1937, top 140 and ties qualify. 1938, maximum of 130 players qualify. Ties for 130th place did not qualify. 1946, maximum of 100 players qualify. Ties for 100th place did not qualify. 1961, maximum of 120 players qualify. Ties for 120th place did not qualify. 1963, exemption from qualifying introduced for the leading players including past 10 Open champions. Local qualifying continues for the remainder of the field, but now 2 separate competitions are held with a pre-allocated number of places available. 2 courses near the Open venue are used, but not the Open venue itself. Playoff for those tied for final places. Total of 120 qualify. 1965, total of 130 qualify. 1968, exemption extended all previous Open champions. 1971, total of 150 qualify. 1984, exemption for previous Open champions aged under 65. 1995, exemption for previous Open champions extended to those aged 65 or under. 2004, international final qualifying introduced. 2008, exemption for previous Open champions restricted to those aged 60 or under. 2014, Open qualifying series introduced, replacing international final qualifying. Tournament name. In Britain, the tournament is best known by its official title, the Open Championship. The British media generally refer to it as the Open or as the Open Championship. Outside the UK, the tournament is generally called the British Open, in part to distinguish the tournament from another of the four majors that has an Open format, the U.S. Open, but mainly because other nations with similar Open format golf events refer to their own nation's Open event as the Open. Until 2014, the PGA Tour referred to the tournament as the British Open, and many American media outlets continue to do so. However, in 2014, with the new Open qualifying series that selects players for the Open through finishes earned in various PGA Tour events, the PGA Tour has taken to referring to the event as the Open Championship for the first time. U.S. television rights holder ESPN ABC referred to the event as the British Open until 2004. For the 2005 event at St Andrews, ESPN ABC began referring to the tournament as the Open Championship, and have done so ever since, with Golf Channel and NBC continuing to acknowledge the same upon the assumption of American rights in 2016. Tour status. It has been an official event on the PGA Tour since 1995, which means that the prize money won in the Open by PGA Tour members is included on the official money list. In addition, all Open championships before 1995 have been retroactively classified as PGA Tour wins, and the list of leading winners on the PGA Tour has been adjusted to reflect this. The European Tour has recognized the Open as an official event since its first official season in 1972, and it is also an official money event on the Japan Golf Tour. Prize money. The 2015 Open had a total prize money fund of £6.3 million and a first prize of £1.15 million. At the time of the Open, these equated to about $9.8 million and $1.8 million respectively. The other three major championships in 2015 had prize money of $10 million and first prizes of $1.8 million, so that all four majors had similar prize money. Prize money is given to all professionals who make the cut, and since the number of professionals making the cut changes from year to year, the total prize money varies somewhat from the advertised number. In 2016, the total prize money fund was £6.5 million, with a first prize of £1.175 million. This equated to about $8.6 million and $1.55 million respectively at the time of the Open. The other majors had prize money of at least $10 million and first prizes of at least $1.8 million. The relative decline in prize money, in dollar terms, was attributable to a fall in the pound-dollar exchange rate. There was no prize money in the first three Opens. In 1863, a prize fund of £10 was introduced, which was shared between the second, third and fourth placed professionals, with the champion keeping the belt for a year. Old Tom Morris won the first champion's cash prize of £6 in 1864.